It has officially closed. It is time to pay tribute to Fear Factor Live. This is episode 483 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hi, I'm Lee Malaby, and this is Fear Factor. The podcast you're about to listen to was designed and is supervised by trained podcast professionals. It is extremely dangerous and should be listened to by anyone, anywhere, anytime. Welcome to Fear Factor Live. Please welcome my podcast crew, Tracy.
Hello.
And Michelle.
Hello, hello.
And up in the video booth, we have our video tech and very special guest, Mr. Stephen Krstulich.
Hello.
And also joining us later will be our host and host trainer and our second very special guest, Mr. Patrick Braillard. But for now, we just have Stephen. So first of all, before we let Stephen and Patrick loose on their stories of working the attraction, we wanted to briefly go into the show's history. And Stephen, feel free to chime in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Fear Factor live show was, and still is, at least the theater is, located in World Expo at Universal Studios Florida, and previously Upper Lot at Universal Studios Hollywood.
That's a strange one, because World Expo I kind of associate with just Men in Black. But even though that's classed as World Expo, is weird because it doesn't really fit.
World Expo actually used to go all the way out to Back to the Future and even to Animal Actors. But then when Kid Zone came on, Kid Zone kind of absorbed Animal Actors, and then when Back to the Future became Simpsons, Simpsons became its own thing. So really World Expo is just Men in Black now. But I also feel like World Expo was probably the one section of the park where it's just let's just put everything that we don't have a theme for.
Yes. Yeah, that doesn't hold its own land, yeah.
Right.
Both attractions opened in the spring of 2005, but the Hollywood attraction was closed on August 14th, 2008. It did not stay open long.
The one that's in California, I think there have been 3 or 4 shows in that theater since it closed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I only saw the California one a couple times. Even then, it was kind of through a video clips. I do think that the venue we had in Florida was far more equipped for that kind of show than the one in California was. Because the one in California, I'm not going to say that venue is cursed.
Okay.
But there have been a lot of shows in that venue that have had very, very short lifespans, like Spider-Man Rocks or the Creature from the Black Lagoon musical.
Which is weird. That's weird. The Creature from the Black Lagoon musical feels like a really strange... it kind of makes sense, Universal Monsters, but it just seems a weird...
Sure.
A weird show.
They shot for the rafters for it. And I have to give them credit for it because, because so often I feel like a lot of theme parks are just kind of accused of playing it safe.
Yes.
And that was definitely not a safe choice. So kudos to them for taking a risk.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But with that theater, because it is a mostly indoor venue, I say mostly indoor because I think the hallways that exit, there aren't any official doors. So it's kind of open air on the side, but it's not as open air as the way as the West Arena was.
Right.
But their Stuntman's Challenge or the hanging one, whatever. I know that over there it was called Hang 'em High.
I believe the one in Orlando was called the Endurance Hang.
Yes, that's right. Endurance Hang. The one in California, I think was maybe 20 feet off the ground, if that.
Oh,
so
wow.
the actual fall was not really much. Whereas, and of course, it's been years since I've been in our arena in Florida, but I think the one in Florida was closer to 40.
It's quite high up when you watch, say, we've only watched YouTube videos of it, and we watched one yesterday, but yes, it seemed pretty high up.
It does seem pretty high up.
I was sadly never able to do it. And it's mainly because there is a very narrow gap in terms of allowance for height and also allowance for weight.
Nice.
I'm on the bigger side. So pretty much anyone that weighs over, I think it was 225, could not do it. Also, anyone who was over 6'2" could not do it.
Okay.
I am right at 6'2". The reasoning was actually mainly because of that endurance hang. Just because the bungees that were in there was kind of only a certain threshold. It all had to do with the bounce coming down. Whereas if you weighed too much, that initial bounce would have you pretty much touch the floor right away.
Yeah, we don't need that.
You can't do that.
No.
But But then same thing, like on the lighter side, if you were too light, that initial bounce, you just wouldn't come down.
Okay.
And so that's why the magic number, I think, was between 110 and 225. It's like, okay, that is where we can have like a reasonable bounce where like they can kind of slowly and easily make their way back to Earth. But like, I think that there was a guy who was on who I think weighed like 225 prior to having the gear on. And like, I think that was something that they implemented a little bit later on because they would do the weight checks during the casting process outside, but then later on they would also do weight checks right before the show when like they're in their full costume. Yeah. Because I think like there was somebody that did pass the weight check pre-show, but then once they got their gear on, they may have been a little bit over. And I think they came, I mean, when that first fall happened, like they didn't hurt themselves, but they definitely touched the ground before bouncing up.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I think that sounds worse than it is. Like, I think it's just like, I think it's like their toes just kind of like tapped the ground and then they went back up. Like it didn't hurt them at all, but at the same time, that was still enough for them to go, okay, we clearly need to put in another.
He may have wet his pants on the way down.
There's no potential for someone to shatter ankles at some point.
Yes. And the Florida attraction began operating on a seasonal schedule on June the 3rd, 2005, but began running again on a full-time basis in the summer of 2010, except during Halloween Horror Nights, in which it has hosted Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure, Academy of Villains, and most recently, Nightmare Fuel.
And for those who don't know, the attraction is based on the NBC TV series Fear Factor and features theme park guests becoming contestants in various stunts inspired by the show.
It does, yes. 6 volunteers would participate in the first challenge, which was the Endurance Hang. The Endurance Hang was 6 contestants were asked to hang from a stationary Y-bar 35 feet in the air. And will have to hang on as long as they can. But adding to the challenge, after 15 seconds into the challenge, fans would be activated. I feel like I want to say fans, but it like people, actual fans would be activated, which blow strongly towards the contestants. And the first 2 contestants that drop will be eliminated and asked to make the walk of shame.
Ooh. And 4 guests would move on to the second challenge, which was the Eel Tank Relay. This stunt consists of 2 parts. The 4 remaining contestants are paired up in groups of 2. One of them will be tethered while the other one is not. And the first part of the stunt has the non-tethered contestants retrieve beanbags from an aquarium full of carnivorous eels.
Are there such thing as carnivorous eels?
Well, they do eat
I think as long as they eat like some kind of meat. Like it doesn't even have to be big meat. If they eat the meat, they're carnivorous.
Fair enough.
Right.
So, the second part consists of the non-tethered contestants throwing the beanbags to their tethered partners holding buckets. However, instead of beanbags, rancid octopi.
Cephalopods.
Will be used. And the amount of octopi thrown by the non-tethered contestants is determined by the amount of beanbags retrieved in the first part. Deep breath. The tethered contestant will then swing back and forth on a rope pendulum, trying to throw the octopi into the non-tethered contestants' buckets. To add to the challenge, volunteers use water cannons to impede the progress of each team. Both parts of the Eel Tank Relay have a 30-second time limit, and the winning team is determined by whoever can get the most squid within the 30... See, why couldn't they use squid earlier? Whoever can get the most squid within the 30-second limit. In the end of a tie, the team that had a member hold on the longest during the first stunt, the Endurance Hang, will bring their partner to the finale.
An interesting fact is the video that Tracy and I watched in preparation for this, obviously having never seen the show in person, did not have the Eel Tank Relay in it.
It didn't?
No.
What did it have? Did it have anything?
Nothing.
Oh.
It only had the 2 stunts. It had the Y-bar hang. It only had 2 at the Y-bar.
That must have been a 2-guest show.
It was a 3-guest show.
A 3-guest show.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think like Patrick could probably talk a little more about like contingencies later on. But certainly that was like one of our contingencies because especially for like the first show of the day, it would be very hard for us to get people cast.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of factors for that. The biggest one being that we're at the back end of the park.
Yeah.
And even on like a normal 3-show day, I think our first show would be at noon, but our first casting would be at 10:50.
Right.
Park opens at 9. You have a lot of stuff to do in the front of the park for the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
Very few people are going to make it back there just for that. I mean, I mean, like they'll probably go to, Jaws in my case, like Diagon Alley now. or like Men in Black, but like Fear Factor was never really high on anyone's list. And so we kind of realized early on that we have to do a version of the show that can accommodate. I think we could do it with a minimum of 2.
Okay.
And that like the contingency on that is that the minimum of 2 would be whoever falls last in the endurance hang gets like a 10-second head start or something like that on the Stuntman's Challenge.
Okay.
Speaking of, the finale was Stuntman's Challenge.
Spoilers.
In the final stunt, the winning team of the eel tank relay is split up again and will pit both remaining contestants against each other. The first segment involves both contestants retrieving 4 flags, which are hung from windowsills. Adding to the challenge to this segment are 3 things: rain sprinklers, air cannons, which blast wind from the windows, and a foam ball cannon, which is similar to the ones in the ball factory in Curious George Goes to Town at Woody Woodpecker's Kid Zone, which is very fun. I do this quite often.
Yes, we know you're evil.
I'm into pelting children with foam balls. So once all flags are retrieved, the players end up getting into a yellow convertible where they must wait until they reach the top, 28 feet in the air, 15-degree angle. Once the car reaches the top, the contestant will retrieve flags from the car. Once again, the volunteers picked before the show will be impeding the contestants by triggering rain sprinklers. Once all flags are retrieved, the contestant will be able to pick up a rocket launcher to shoot at a target. When this happens, 3 pyrotechnic cues are hit, and the building facade falls on the host, and the winner is declared.
Which is
I should clarify, it doesn't fall on the host.
No,
it kind of falls around the host.
Yes. Yeah. Look, Wikipedia.
I don't think we had that in our budget to have a new host every show.
No.
It's the old Buster Keaton
Yes.
trick, isn't it?
Yeah. But then, so as I said, they didn't have the eel relay when we watched it, but there was 2 mini stunts in the middle, which it didn't look like there were the actual people taking part in the main show. They looked like other guests. I don't know whether that's normal, Stephen, obviously only having watched the one show.
For the interstitials that you speak of, which are the Desert Hat Ordeal and the... I forget what
we'll get to that one. We'll get to that one.
But those would be cast actually a lot closer to the show.
Okay.
Like closer to the showtime.
Yeah.
I mean, they would often kind of like while they're doing the audition process for the contestants, they would just kind of speak out to everyone saying, hey, if you want to like try something daring or whatever, let us know. But like I think like a lot of times they would even kind of like cast those with like maybe like 30 minutes before the actual start of the show.
Cool. Yeah, so the first one was the Desert Hat Ordeal. And in this mini stunt, which happens between the endurance hang and the eel tank relay, a volunteer will be strapped to a chair where their head will be encased in a transparent box while wearing protective equipment, swimming goggles for eye protection, and a mask which covers the nose and mouth. Then the volunteer's partner will be asked to spin a wheel. Now, I need to ask if this is true, by the way, Stephen, this piece of information that Wikipedia told me.
Oh, no, not Wiki.
Right. Asked to spin the wheel, which determines what will be placed in the box. This includes scorpions, snakes, spiders, and cockroaches. However, the wheel always lands on scorpions, so spinning of the wheel is actually irrelevant. Is that true?
Absolutely true.
Okay. They are big bleeping scorpions, by the way.
After watching that, first going, oh my God, no. Actually, do you know what? I would do it.
They were huge.
They were amazing.
And they were I think, emperors.
Emperors, yes, emperors, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people that ask, it's like, oh my God, why are you putting like venomous scorpions on people? And I mean, we're very, very careful to say like they are the world's largest venomous, or the world's largest venomous scorpions, which is absolutely true. But for those people who maybe know a lot more about scorpions, the smaller ones are the ones that'll like kill you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, even though these were venomous, but like probably won't take you out necessarily, they still had their stingers clipped and capped.
Okay. I thought they looked capped.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, they're also not going to just jump in and go, oh, look, something to sting.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it's usually done in, like, self-defense. And, like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, truth be told, your head is in that. I mean, really, you can't move. So, like, there's nothing you could really do that could be considered, like, a really, like violent action toward them.
Exactly. For me, the worst part of that stunt is the being strapped to the chair.
No, putting the box over my head, that sort of
my head, yeah.
I find that like claustrophobia thing would kick in. That would be the worst thing for me. You don't ever have to put anything in. I'll be freaking out.
I'll be chasing them out back, going, no, said, right, now can I hold the cockroaches
Tarantula,
and every. Oh, yeah.
This is the weirdo.
If you actually look closely at like the boxes that we have, for,
Yeah.
like, the spider and the snakes and the cockroach, I believe it was either the cockroaches or the snakes. Like if you looked in that case, none of them are real.
Oh, okay.
I did notice they didn't move.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a shame. So the second mini stunt was Guess What's Crawling to Dinner? And in this mini stunt, which happens between the eel tank relay and the stuntman's challenge stunts, 2 teams of 2 guests each will have 30 seconds to complete a mixture of meat, seafood, sour milk, and insects. Whichever team completes both mixtures will be the winners of this stunt. The sour milk
Oh, it
was
rank.
lumpy.
Yeah. So, Stephen, I
Yes.
have to ask, what do you get for winning this? Do you get anything?
Stomachache.
I mean, you do, and it's something that over the course of the show, it became a joke that was built into the show, because like the prize, I think, like in its final form, which was kind of established early on, was the I ate a bug mug.
Okay.
It's just
Oh,
like,
yes.
Which is like this like crappy yellow mug, and it's like it became a joke in the show, but it was never intended to be a joke. It was just kind of like a little bit of a meta humor to where like even we're acknowledging, okay, this is kind of a silly prize.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the very beginning, I remember seeing kind of like the guide or the booklet that was kind of like pitching the show as far as what the prizes in general were going to be. There were some pretty outlandish prizes in there. Ultimately, at the end, it was, park tickets, and then, there was a shirt and there was the mug and so forth. But like, I remember seeing in this like almost like a vision board in a way of just like stuff like they were kind of pitching for. There was like a Fear Factor themed like inflatable kayak.
Okay.
There was a copy of a Game Boy Advance game, Fear Factor, which I played, and it is terrible. Do not play that game.
I can imagine.
I think that the mug is actually a better prize. Yeah, and like just like a bunch of like other kind of like random branded stuff, and like I know at the beginning that was always intended, but really as is with the creation of like anything, budgets always get trimmed down, and I mean there would definitely be a point where it's like, okay, if we're going to be doing this many shows a day, and like our overhead cost is already this much, we need to cut something, and it's probably going to be in the form of prizes, and so that's where it eventually became park tickets, a shirt, a hat, all that other stuff.
It's those poor people that take part in that challenge that don't win. So you've basically just drank a cup of
They
nothing.
actually managed to drink it as well. Yeah.
So the one we watched, there was only 2 contestants, and they finished within seconds of each other.
Yeah.
So obviously the guy won the mug, and then the girl was just left with a very bitter taste in her mouth.
Yeah. Everything in that smoothie is absolutely edible. There is nothing in there. I mean, we're not going to poison our guests, or at least not willingly.
No. Some people would say some of the theme park food would, but okay, let's not get down that route.
Yeah, the sour milk, if I remember, I think it was like Carnation instant milk or something like that.
I was going to ask.
But there was also some unflavored gelatin that was thrown in.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was something like whey or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think like everything combined, it absolutely smelled disgusting, and it did smell disgusting, and it tasted disgusting. Everything about it was disgusting, but like there was nothing that was in there that can't normally. I mean, it's like a lot of like sardines and Vienna sausages and stuff like that. And actually they did a cool trick with the bugs, because like the bugs were just like kind of like they were dried out crickets and worms and so forth. Like actually, like I tried one of the worms once. They're like Rice Krispies.
Yep.
Like nice and crunchy. But like they would take some like cooking spray, some Pam spray, and just kind of like spray it a little bit to make it look shiny. And like therefore make it look slimy. Yeah. And like it really looked good on camera.
I mean, to be fair, I've done an eating challenge before, and I've had some of that surströmming, that fermented Swedish fish.
He stunk.
Yep.
Oh, it is disgusting.
I made him shower, was it twice or 3 times
it was
before he could even
rank.
come in the house?
It was not pleasant.
Nasty.
The first show of the day was always worse because the fish that they use, like they kept it in a freezer. So the chunks of fish would still be kind of frozen.
Oh, so they wouldn't chop properly.
Yeah, it wouldn't chop properly, but also it's like you really had to chew through it. It was
Wow.
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh God. Okay, I'm going to end this conversation right there.
Who's hungry?
Ugh. All right. Finally, after temporary closing in March 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Universal confirmed in October 2021 that the attraction would not reopen, and as of recording, A replacement has yet to be announced.
So, Stephen, you sent us a video of.
I did.
A video of a video.
A video of a video.
That you
A
wrote
video of a
and
video. Yeah, it's
narrated.
very
Inception.
meta. Yeah. So I actually helped open the show. I was there like at the very beginning
Cool.
in 2005, and like I was there when we were kind of getting everything figured out, and kind of to what we were speaking earlier about the contingencies. There was a point that we were just kind of having trouble getting guests into
Yeah, I can imagine.
into auditioning for the show, to the point that eventually they would actually add this like almost like this first mini show for the host and producer to go to the front of the park, like where the Lucy store was, with just 2 microphones, just to kind of drum up excitement for casting so that they could get everyone out to the 10:15 casting in time. And like that worked fairly well. There were still some shows where like the first show of the day, if you saw it, they would actually be Universal team members just because we couldn't get anyone to audition for it. I think that my wife did it once.
Okay.
Actually.
You've actually just answered a question I was going to ask. I wondered if they ever put team members in there.
Oh yeah, often. And I think for even like the first like week of like our technical rehearsals that we did for guests, I think that like those were all like team members.
Yeah.
I don't think I mean obviously we're not going to put guests in there until we absolutely know it's, safe.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean really everything that we were doing was safe, but once again, we if somebody has to be the guinea pig, it's probably not going to be a paying guest.
No.
I'll say that. But one of the things that I had offered to do, and like this definitely kind of speaks a lot to what my work ethic was then versus what it is now, is that on my break time, I actually decided to just make a video. Whereas like most people would actually like, get some coffee or take an actual break, I decided to keep working.
Okay.
And it's mainly because my job on the show was one of my many jobs, but the one that I was initially hired for was to be a video editor on the show, which is editing or filming and editing that contested video at the start of the show. And so I had a full editing suite there.
Cool.
But pretty much the moment the show started, I was on break because that video needs to be done before the show.
Right.
And I had no real task to do during the show except for picking up the foam balls at the end of the show.
Right.
So and sorry, I also had to open the walk of shame door for the contestants. So like clearly during a show I was very busy. And so like I just decided, hey, maybe I can go out to one of the castings, like to kind of get some footage and so forth. Like maybe like I can make like a 30 to 60 second commercial that kind of explains the casting process a little bit. And so I got footage. I actually did like one show where I followed the contestants up to the top with like one of the actual show cameras in my hand so that I could get some footage of like them walking out to the crowd. It was like on a busy summer day. It's like the stadium was full. It was very, very nerve-wracking for me because at the time I was very much afraid of heights.
Right.
And more so, I was very much afraid of embarrassing myself. And so like I remember holding on to that camera just to get that shot of like going over the edge just to see the audience and thinking, holy crap, I do not want to drop this thing in front of, over 1,000 people, but also in front of my coworkers. I don't want to be fired. I did not drop it, but like still, it's just like every time that like I would see that shot, I would just be reminded of just how nervous I was getting that shot.
Yeah.
But so I just kind of edited like a short video of it. I used like a lot of people like we had working there. Like I used Jason Perry, who I know like a lot of you know.
Oh yes.
From Bill and Ted and so forth.
Yeah.
He was in it.
Cool.
But then I decided just to kind of narrate it on my own because like really I was just a one-man operation kind of doing this on spec. So I decided, okay, I'll narrate it and put it in. And I had pitched it to one of our entertainment managers, and it pretty much sat on his desk for like 6 months. And so I kind of figured like, okay, that's probably the end of it. Whatever, it's fine. It was something I did. It was something I'm proud of. Whatever. But then one day we were doing a cue to cue, which is the thing that like we would do at the start of every day, where like we would go through every single technical cue in the show and just kind of do a speed run of the show just to make sure that everything was working properly before we bring guests in. And while we were doing that, the VP of entertainment was there, and he was a very, very kind of cordial, like easy to talk to guy. And like I went up to him and I said, "Hey, can I show you something?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yeah, sure." And so I played him the video that was of me like narrating this thing. And like at one point there was talk of even having Patrick Braillard come in to like re-narrate it because they
no.
Because like they weren't thinking about, using my voice on it. But I showed it to the VP and the VP said, "Hey, I really like that. Go ahead and put that in the first show."
Awesome.
And it stayed in the show. And like I left in 2008, up until I think the show closed in 2019, even though the video itself had changed, the audio never changed. And so my voice was kind of haunting that theater for like over 10 years after I left it.
Yeah, and you just sent us this clip, so shall we play it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Fear Factor Live. Once, you. If you think you have what it takes to be a Fear Factor Live champion, visit the casting department directly in front of this theater at least 1 hour and 10 minutes before each show. To compete, you must be at least 18 years of age with a valid form of photo ID. Don't try this at home. Try it here.
There you have it. That was me. That was me when
awesome.
I was probably like 23, I think.
And the best catch line ever of "Don't try this at home, try it here." That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that I came up with that, but like that was actually kind of a riff on like on the catchphrase that they were using to actually promote the show, which I think was "Don't try this at home, try it at Universal Orlando."
Right.
But I decided, well, they're already here, so don't try this at home, try it here.
Cool. And that, like you're saying, that video has been there. The video itself changed, but that narration's been there right from the start. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Right. I think it's time we added Mr. Patrick Braillard into this, so we'll take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we will be back.
Have you taken a stroll down Diagon Alley and visited Gringotts Bank? Taken a ride through New York with Jimmy Fallon? Visited the Truffalo trees in Seuss Landing or hung out with a real-life Transformer? No? Then what are you waiting for? At Universal Orlando Resort, there truly is an option for everyone. Or if you're leaning a little more towards pixie dust rather than wands and potions, Disney destinations around the globe await your arrival. No matter the adventure, our sponsors have you covered. Be sure to let the experts at Mouse Muggle Travel Company take care of all your travel needs, earning the distinction of being an earmarked agency specializing in Disney destinations, as well as becoming one of the first to be named a You Preferred agency with Universal Parks and Resorts Vacations. Mouse & Muggle Travel Company will ensure you receive top-rated customer service. Just visit mouseandmuggle.com to fill out a no-obligation quote request, or send your request to info@mouseandmuggle.com. Their team can take care of you no matter where in the world you want to go. With a flick of their wand and a little bit of pixie dust, the process will be so seamless, some might even say it's simply magical.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here talking about Fear Factor Live, and joining the team is host and host trainer, Mr. Patrick Braillard. Patrick, it is good to have you back on the show again, sir.
Hey, it's good to see you guys again.
We are, of course, we've talked the history of it and discussed a bit of that already. Now, because Stephen has been the driving force behind this episode, he has been on my back for years to get this finally to go ahead, to get him and Patrick on the show to talk about Fear Factor Live. So I am
You're making me sound really obsessed.
Well, now is the perfect time with it closing. So basically, I'm opening the floor to Patrick and Stephen to regale us in your Fear Factor Live stories. If you would be so kind.
Yeah, absolutely. I first of all, I want to preface this with saying that we will tell stories that we are legally allowed to tell.
Yes.
Wise.
Because there are a lot of reputations that can be absolutely and utterly destroyed within the Orlando community.
Yes.
If we were to tell the full and honest and open book truth of this.
Luckily, I have no reputation to worry about.
Oh, so I'll be seeing you. All right, bye. I'm really glad that Stephen, badgered you both to get us on here, because honestly, Fear Factor itself, not only as the attraction, which was wholly unique, but honestly the the experience from 2005 until just now when it closed, really, it behaved and it acted as, and it was also grown as its own unique little ecosystem and family.
Okay.
And I think that it was wholly unique in its conception as a show, because it's got part guests doing crazy and insane stuff and eating and drinking things that they shouldn't consume. But also behind the scenes, there were so many friendships and relationships that were cultivated during that time period that are not only fast friends but also forever friends. And I don't think there's going to be a time in which I will ever run into anybody from FFL and not want to give them a hug and understand, being in the trenches with them all those years, just what they mean to me. So it's really a treat to come on and talk about it.
Yeah, it's such an interesting show when you look at it now. Like, it's not what you would expect from a theme park show anymore. It's so, when you look at how litigation heavy the world has become, and then to have something like that in a theme park, such a weird show to have nowadays. It's not really a surprise that they've closed it.
No, and I think as far as like the closing of the show, I mean, I make absolutely, no mystery in that. Like, I know that like this was nobody's favorite show as a guest, as a fan. But I know the reason why, like, I've been so keen to kind of share my stories with you, Lee, and like certainly like back when my wife and I were doing our podcast many years ago. And by the way, for those who don't know, my wife, I met her working at Fear Factor. So like I do have, like obviously a lot of very, very fond memories, but it truly was a place that like, I get why the guests didn't like it, because like it did kind of represent too many, like it's based on a reality show. People have a lot of their, kind of personal opinions about reality shows. And it also kind of represented the first bit of synergy from the NBC Universal merger, to which people can't help but kind of look at with a cynical eye. And I get it. I totally get it. For me, it was exciting just because, I was a technician in the parks, and I had really wanted to do something with video as a video technician, and the options just really weren't there. Like, I feel like projection, like video projection in shows, is something that is a lot more commonplace now than it was 15 years ago. And so the fact that this opportunity had come up, it was like a chance for me to kind of finally do something like I really wanted to do. And so like that was great for me. But then, like as Patrick was saying, it's just kind of like, it's not so much about the destination, it's about the friends we made along the way. And I mean, I remember something within like the first like month or two, like when we were prepping the show at the old West Arena, and it was a point when like we were all, I don't want to say we were cliquish, but I think it's just we were all very, very focused in our own little worlds. Like the riggers were doing their thing, the performers were doing their thing, the video guys were doing their thing, and so on and so forth. And so because of it, like we never really went like outside of our initial groups. And there was a guy who was on our team who also happened to work at the old Wild West show, and he had said something during a morning meeting that I think stuck very much. That said something to the effect of, the thing that made the West show special was that everyone was a family, and that everyone truly kind of banded together, and they became a family. They became just kind of this like singular unit. And like I think that that's something that in the first month of the operation of the show that was missing. And I think everyone kind of took that to heart, because like I know from my time at Universal, which was a span of 9 years, almost 15 years ago, I think that my experience at Fear Factor is probably the most close-knit like group of coworkers that I've probably ever worked with to this day. And I mean that includes like everything that I've done beyond. And I mean I still have many close relationships from like all the jobs I've had since. But there's just something about Fear Factor that it was a very strong family environment. I mean, like the fact that like we're all kind of keeping up with each other after all these years, I think says a lot. And I mean, and kind of going back to something like I said before about, I mean, the writing was always kind of on the wall that the show was going to close.
Right. Yeah. It's been talked about for a long time. Yeah.
And so it's actually kind of funny in a way to know that Fear Factor lasted, I think, longer than Wild West did, which like I don't think any of us saw come. I mean, I remember I remember kind of, just like I was living in Vegas at the time, but like I was kind of, raising my glass and like toasting all of my friends back home. It's like, hey, Fear Factor had a great run. It's a shame that it's closing. This was in 2009, I think, when like the show was about to go seasonal for the first time, which like people saw as like, all right, that's it. The writing's on the wall. It's shutting down. But then it just kind of keep coming back. And so, and it's actually even like more ironic that like after all these years of it threatening to close, that it finally closed technically a year and a half after their last show. Because of COVID. Yeah,
I just want to jump in a second. For the listeners listening, by the way, if you hear some dodgy background noise, it's because we've had to drag Mr. Braillard on his way to an appointment, so he's in his car, just in case anyone's wondering what the noise is. So, sorry, Patrick, please carry on.
Sorry, everybody.
It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm also recording inside of a wind tunnel. That's probably not helping either. To echo what Steven said about the fact that the days of the show were definitely numbered from the beginning. It's really funny because I think the last episode, the true episode of Fear Factor, aired about 6 weeks after we opened.
Oh, wow.
and so we were like, yeah, we got a show. It's on NBC. Everything's great. The show's open. There is this synergistic kind of vertical collaboration going on, the Symphony Project. And then all of a sudden it was like blip and it was gone. And we're like, oh, well, I guess we're now just a theme park show.
That's the nature of theme parks, though, isn't it? It's difficult to be on the cusp of something when it's popular, because you've got to know that it's popular enough to then do an attraction or a show for it. But then when is it not a thing?
Yeah, and it's funny now because we've got stories, obviously, about our days in the green room and on stage and backstage and all the hijinks that ensued. But the thing that's fascinating is, and I think Steven can also echo this, is that people will talk about the closing night party and the rap party for Fear Factor, and then they'll follow it up with going, the third rap party, the fourth rap party, the third rap party. That one time where we went over there and we did that thing in City Walk, and no, that was the first rap party. No, it was the second one. Eventually it got to the point where it's just like, nope, I'm not going to go to the rap party because there's going to be another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing that really kind of kept the show running was actually the closure of Jaws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because at that end of the park, you had Jaws, you had Men in Black, and then you had this theater that was, occasionally open or closed. But the moment that they removed Jaws, they needed something to kind of disperse crowds. Because Jaws had a fairly high throughput on ride capacity. I don't recall how many people the Fear Factor Theater hold.
1,850.
1,850. Okay. Yeah. So like that right there. I think like one show. Like if you fill one show, that's about probably like close to half of like the hourly capacity of Jaws.
Yeah,
so
it's quite a small theater as well, because we talked about two of our friends who've just been working on Universal Beijing, and their Waterworld theater holds 3,200.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's massive. Even the show that my wife and I worked on in Las Vegas, which is a Cirque du Soleil show. Like that's probably one of the biggest venues in Vegas. Like that one holds like 1,800.
Wow.
It is wonderful. I think one of the hallmarks of when you've got a show that is so well loved by the people who put it on, that's going to come along with a lot of not necessarily backstage drama, but a lot of backstage interactions, which to what we're saying is, there's a lot of fun and there's a lot of laughter, but then there's also a lot of tense moments.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of personalities that are put together. Within our green room, you had a spot of 7 rigging techs. You had 4 regular AV techs. You had 2 talent, 5 people that were working in casting and coordination. You had your costuming team. You had stage management and coordinators. There were 35 to 40 people working in that venue every single day in and day out, which all went together to put 3 shows on daily.
I think it was one of the largest, if not the largest, like cast or like cast and crew numbers of like any show on property. I think maybe T2 or Sinbad had a bigger cast crew, but like I know that just in terms of like hourly rates, especially with like, like all the riggers and the AV techs, because like those teams were definitely paid more than like a lot of the like other technicians like at other shows. So like I know that Fear Factor was not a cheap show to put on.
Right.
Correct.
And, yeah.
No, it was very expensive. We're worth it. We were worth
Sure,
it.
of course. Of course.
You know, and you know, in all the people that are looking at this, who ever had the opportunity to do Fear Factor, it really is a matter of just a nonstop cavalcade of inside jokes that only people who worked at Fear Factor during those times would possibly be able to understand. There were moments where we as a group really took it upon ourselves to be different as far as the casts and the crews were concerned, property-wide, and I think that also contributed to the family feeling. We took on this moniker very early on of kind of being the black sheep of the Universal Orlando family.
Okay.
And that meant and it transformed into us being the pirate crew.
Pirates. Yep.
Okay.
And we were the pirates. We would steal people's carts. We would take whatever we wanted and give nothing back. There was a moment where in talking about, you know, becoming a family, very early on, as part of the symphony process, they wanted to do an NBC aired Inside the Look of Fear Factor Live backstage at the attraction as it became what it became. And there was a technician, Steven, who I don't know who it was. There was a technician who made it their goal to say
Yep.
"yar" as many times as possible, so that it made the final edit in the behind the scenes video.
Awesome.
And it stuck.
It stuck.
In fact, there were points whenever like I was acting as a video editor on the show, and like this was back in the very early days, back when we were actually doing the editing and like prepping all of our guests in the main break trailer. So like, I mean, I know like the average person doesn't really know like the layout of the theater, but like if you look at Google Maps, you can actually see what I'm talking about. Behind the theater, off to the right, there's like a larger trailer. That's like the main kind of cast and crew break trailer. That's where stage management is. That's where everyone is. But then there's a smaller trailer behind the old stables from a Wild West, which is the contestant trailer. And that was actually built, wasn't it like almost a year after the show opened that we got that trailer?
Maybe years.
Yeah, so for like the longest time, there were cast, crew, and guests mingling in one location.
Wow.
Which of course meant we had to watch our language and things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like for the most part, I think we did. But like I remember that whenever I was a video editor in like that room, depending on like who the host was, I would kind of have them come with me because while I was shooting that little video, which is just a little video like you know, that airs at the top of the show. Hi, my name is blah blah blah, and I'm from da da da, and I'm going to win Fear Factor because blah. And so really, like while I was shooting that was kind of the opportunity for the host to kind of pregame a little bit and like get to know the contestants a little bit, because especially once they shoot that video, they pretty much have to go and just like get in their costumes, and there really isn't a lot of time for the host to get to know these people at all, except for like maybe like the 2 minutes before the show starts when like they're all up like at the top where the hanging platforms are. And like there were a couple times, usually like late in a very long day, where I think like I would turn to Patrick and I'd go, "All right, Patrick, it's the fourth show on a Saturday afternoon, so you know what that means." And then like we just look at each other and go, "Pirate show," which means that we would start having the guests in their video just kind of throw in a yar, like throw in like a pirate yar. So like it actually kind of made its way into the public facing version of the show. In hindsight, was it the best move? No.
That's funny though.
Yeah.
I remember in 2005 when the show opened, there's an internal events awards ceremony for entertainment. And the division has an award ceremony. And at that award ceremony called the Woodies, Fear Factor won Show of the Year.
Okay.
And when that happened, you can imagine if you've got 30 people that are responsible for that show on a daily basis, you have to have times 2 or even times 3 that amount of people to actually create the show, not including all of the backup talent responsible for hosting and producing that show. So like, it's a massive group of people. And when that show was announced as the winner of Show of the Year, you had about 150 people rush the stage with a gigantic pirate flag in tow and just take over the entire thing until finally they were like, okay, we're going to turn the lights on. You have to leave. Like half of the entire entertainment division dumped out onto the stage. I think what's wonderful about, not only, YAR and all that is that there truly became a sense of camaraderie, and that we were our own little ecosystem and our own little bubble unto ourselves, because we were so isolated geographically from all of the other entertainment options park wide. There were things that not only leadership did, but also we did internally to keep our morale up and keep that feeling of fun and positivity while we were playing. One of the things that we did is we actually organized and had a massive cornhole tournament.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know what cornhole is, it is a southern lawn game in which you have to take beanbags and throw them into implaned plank receptacles, and you count points, and it became extremely competitive at our venue. To the point that we had an elimination bracket, and there was months worth of trash talking occurring between all of us.
And then there was a final championship game that we did like during our lunch break one day. That was a fully produced show.
Awesome.
Like we had like 2 or 3 people up in the booth running it, in addition to like hosts and stuff on stage.
Brilliant.
Like, we took it very seriously. Like we took it seriously, like in the spirit of fun, of course. But like this wasn't just something like we decided to kind of do one day. Like we actually like planned it out and like even rehearsed it. And I mean, this is something that, like, no guest was ever going to see.
No.
The video exists. There is a video.
Okay, that's cool. Because I imagine it's got to be tough doing a show like that, like 4 or 5 times a day, however many it is, constantly doing the same thing, but trying to keep yourselves interested in it when you're doing literally the same thing day in, day out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't speak for Patrick, but I'm sure that during my time at Fear Factor, I must have easily done like over like 700 or 800 shows.
Wow.
And I mean, my rank is like nowhere near the people that were like actually full time on the show that that probably had like thousands of shows in there. I know that when I left Cirque in Las Vegas, I had done that show close to, I think, like 1,800 times, but that was over the span of like 4 years. And like, that was me being there every single night doing 2 shows a night. But with a show like Fear Factor, at minimum, you're doing 3 shows a day. During summer peak, you're doing 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
When I finally left for show direction and creative development, my total was north of 2,500 shows.
Wow.
And I think that there's the old adage of you do television to get rich, you do film to get famous, you do theater to get good, and I think that you can add on to that, you do theme park work or themed entertainment to get fast and strong. And it hones those muscles to make it, and you have to make it fresh every single show.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand that while it might be your 2500th show, the individuals that are coming into that theater may have A, never seen the show before, and B, may never come back again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you have to make things when you're working in themed entertainment fresh, and it is the consummate challenge of that industry.
Yeah.
It really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone speaks very highly. Like, we love the horror makeup show, and you think doing that same show however many times a day. And I tell you what, we've seen it multiple times in the same day, and it feels like a different show every time you see it.
It's always fresh. Yeah.
Funny story about horror makeup. During the downtime, every single year for Fear Factor, when it would go down seasonally, everybody got moved to different parts of the park. So for that 3 or 4 week period before the tech team got thrown onto Bill and Ted while they were doing all of the set tear down and strike and redesign, everybody got moved around, and that included the host and the producer. So I spent time during those downtimes as a Shrek villager, or Man in the Yellow Hat with Curious George, or all these different things. But one year I begged show direction. I was like, I want to do the horror makeup show so badly. And so I think they took pity on me finally, and they were like, go ahead, go do the horror makeup show. We'll train you in that 1 week. And I was like, okay. So I did the training for the week, and I'll never forget it because I did one host show and one artist show.
Okay, awesome.
That was it. And that's all I ever did in horror makeup. And for the host, and they're two very different tracks, but I'll never forget it because Russell, who had been there since day one of horror makeup, was my trainer. And I love Russell, but when I was the host or when I was the artist, I came in, and that moment where you're like, come on, bring me back to life. Give me a kiss. I need a kiss. And the woman stood up and kissed me. And Russell looked down at me and goes, I've been doing this show for 20 years and I have never gotten a kiss. It's your first show. And it was also my last show. So I have the distinction of getting not only,
Brilliant.
I got a kiss in my first one.
That's why it was the last show.
He was like, get this guy out of here.
I actually have kind of a similar story about like as far as like like wanting to do something different and then finally getting to do it only to have it kind of taken away from you. It was actually before Fear Factor. I had been doing like the character trolley around the park and I didn't love it. So like I was just kind of desperate just to try something new, and like after like months and months and months of kind of begging management, they finally said, okay, if we have you train over at Nickelodeon, will you shut up? And I said, yes, I will. And they sent me over there, and this was in March of 2005. I think, Patrick, you can see where this is going. So like I did a total of 88 shows, which when you think like at Nickelodeon, they probably did close to like 8 to 10 shows a day.
Wow.
It's not a lot.
No.
And so like I finally got to go in there. I finally got to do the show. The show was so much fun. It also had a very strong kind of like family dynamic. But then like at the end of May in 2005, they said, "All right, we're closing. Goodbye," which was bittersweet for me because like as a kid who grew up in that park, I mean that show opened or like that park opened in 1990. I was like 6 years old, I think, when the park opened, and so because of it, like, I was like a big fan of Nickelodeon. And so like, it's like, oh my God, this is where they're going to be shooting all the shows and so forth. So like, I kind of grew up with Nickelodeon at the park. And then, now here I am, I'm 21, 22, whatever. And I'm now shutting down my childhood, which it was kind of messed up. But we then moved kind of straight into Fear Factor. So like, actually a lot of us from Nickelodeon went to Fear Factor. Okay. I think that most of the casting department on the show were like Nickelodeon expats.
Yeah. It really is interesting, the trials and tribulations you go through with not only, having experience shutting down a show, but also starting the show. And when Fear Factor came online, what was interesting about it is that we would learn a script in the morning. We would go away for lunch and come back, and they'd have a new stunt for us.
Oh, okay, brilliant.
Oh.
And then we would go home, and we would come back the next morning off book for everything that had been added. And they would say, okay, and we've got a new stunt for you this morning. We're like, okay. And then we go away for lunch, and we'd come back, and we'd have another stunt. And this happened. We called it the lock-in because it lasted for such a long time. But the Fear Factor lock-in, it was real. It was like, I don't know, a month and a half of every single day you'd come in and learn a new script.
Wow.
And what's great about that is it's kind of trial by fire, and it really does bring a cast and crew together. What's challenging about that is that, of course, the length and breadth of the amount of information.
Yes.
And the show that you ended up getting at the end of everything, when we finally opened, not only was it, I think, a great product, but also it took a lot of pain and suffering to get there. And I can remember a particular show that we were in technical rehearsals, and the edict came down from up on high that no matter what, we are going to finish the show. We're gonna start the show, and we're gonna go, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. We're going to finish the show. And because of all of the different intricate rigging pieces that we had and the automated electrical eyes that we had for safety and e-stops that we had, that show took an hour and a half.
Wow.
JCP and Sean Hensley were the two actors on stage, and they had to cover what is normally a 22-minute show for an hour and a half.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, and we were all in the stands watching it happen, just like, it's okay, guys, keep going.
Yeah.
You got this.
Was that the one day that like they just kind of like announced like over the park PA? I mean, like this was probably like, you know, like a good like week or two before the official grand opening, but they pretty much like announced over the park PA, ladies and gentlemen, at 1:00 we're gonna have our first show of Fear Factor. Everyone come on down.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, and we pretty much found out about it at the same time the guests did. Because I mean, like we knew like we were going to be doing rehearsals all day, but then suddenly it's like, all right, I think we'll show it to some guests. It's like, oh, okay, how are you going to get them over here? And then suddenly they do this park-wide announcement.
Okay,
and then like everyone just rushes over there, and it's like, all right, here we go. And I mean, as is in the case with like any major show that's kind of doing like its first like real like technical rehearsal with full-on guests, everything that could go wrong did.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing because you get to deal with it. You know, that's not a bad thing because you get to deal with everything right from the start of knowing how to deal with everything that's potentially going to get thrown at you. Because let's be honest, throwing theme park guests into something that you know how it's going to go, but then you get those random people that are just a little awkward. You're never quite sure what you're going to get.
Oh, for this show in particular, and every theme park show has a set of contingencies built in. Whenever you're dealing with live entertainment, you've always got contingencies, and everybody on the cast and crew have to know how to deal with those contingencies. But this experience by far was the most lopsided in the fact that the contingencies written for the show were longer than the script for the show.
Wow.
Okay.
And it was what do we do if we have 5 contestants or 4 contestants or 3 contestants? What if somebody gets sick after the first event? What if somebody gets injured? What if somebody runs streaking across the stage? I mean, there were a million different contingencies that were built in and that everybody had to know. And so I think that, speaking to what we were talking about earlier, how do you keep things fresh, is you never knew how the guests were going to react. So it always was a sense of a little bit of danger of going, well, what are we going to do? and needing to know exactly what was going to happen. I can remember a show where it was really early on and we hadn't prepped all the contingencies. And I think I might have been suffering from heat stroke. And there was a moment where somebody ditched out and we were left with 3 competitors. And I was like, well, maybe I'll compete. And the crowd went nuts. And all of a sudden the riggers were like, no. And I was like, okay, maybe I won't. But it was a matter of, I guess we got to put that in the contingency book then.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have, one listed out for that. But I do have to say that I have to go here in just a second, but I do have to say that it is a cherished memory for all of the friendships and relationships that I had the good fortune of finding and being a part of in that show. And it's funny because it can be years between the time that we see each other. Like, Steven, it is so good to see you.
You too, brother.
and the thing is that it's always been too long since we see each other. And I think the last time I saw you was like right as I was about to get married, and like my wife and I just hit our 9th anniversary.
Wow.
So right. Yeah. Exactly. Or in the case of my kids, it's literally been 2 lifetimes since I've seen you.
Yeah.
It's So I just wanted to say that, I love all the people that I had the good fortune of being with at Fear Factor, and I look forward to catching the remainder of your guys' conversation. Yeah. Because I think that the Fear Factor stands by itself as a very unique entertainment experience, not just at Universal, but also in the history of themed entertainment. Yeah. Because that show was only one of very few shows that were crazy enough to put real park guests into the situations we put them in. Yep.
I don't think there's ever going to be another show like it.
No, I think I agree. I don't think so either. I think those type of shows have gone like for good now.
Yeah.
Us in vaudeville. I know what it is.
Yeah,
Back
but
in my day.
We've heard that so many times talking to the people that have worked at Universal on shows that the community involved around, whether it be an attraction or even just behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, that community is such a cherished part of the people that work there, and we've heard that so much over doing this show for nearly 11 years now, and it's great to hear that, like, you and Stephen haven't seen each other for so long yet. You would never know the conversation, the back and forth that you're having now. It's like they're the friendships you know you cherish when you can just start talking to someone like you saw them yesterday.
Yeah.
True story.
Agreed.
All right, guys. Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Yes, thank you, Patrick.
You?
Thank you, Patrick.
I gotta go. Bye.
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 But yeah, it's such a strange. You talk about a show like Fear Factor. It's a strange one at the time, and then now it's not really a surprise that it's closed because of like what Patrick said. It's a show putting guests in a situation that. Do people want to put people in that situation, especially not in a theme park anymore? I have sadly to say, I had to say this, wait until Patrick jumped off. We've never actually seen Fear Factor live at Universal Orlando.
I don't think it's ever been on.
Yes, I am going to say with a caveat of we tend to come out a lot of the time in September and October, so I don't.
Which is usually when the show was closed.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would have been all over it.
The
so.
potential of us having seen it would have been on our second trip in 2005, and it can't have been open because we loved Fear Factor. Like, we had a British version of it over here. Same
Wasn't
show.
as good as the American one, though.
Just British. And we were all over it. I loved. There's nothing.
It certainly
better.
had. It probably had far less Joe Rogan in it.
Yeah. Like, I was
there's
all,
that.
it was the eating challenges. That's the only reason I watched it. Watching people eating stuff they shouldn't be and like barking and stuff was hilarious. But
which the eating challenge, I can definitely speak to that on our show, because like that was, of course, like something that was probably pitched from like, the very beginning. It's like, okay, like if we're gonna involve guests, like what can we do? It's like, well, we can do some stunts. Well, like we gotta have them eat some weird stuff, right?
Naturally.
And so often people would ask me, it's like, okay, so like what's in that smoothie? Like, is it real what they say it is? It's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, like there's weird gross meat, there's weird gross fish, and there's bugs in it. Yes, it's absolutely real. The difference is that, like kind of like the key modifier there is everything's food grade.
yes.
I mean, like everything that we're feeding, like nothing's expired. We didn't like dig it from the ground out. Like it's all it's all food grade stuff. But the combination of that stuff is absolutely repulsive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like certainly when they were kind of working out the initial mixtures, this is like during the rehearsal, which there was a point. I forget if this was back of house or if this was actually in front of guests. But I remember that our show's director Gary, who was a former Disney Imagineer. He had gone independent, and like he had kind of gone to like direct a lot of his own stuff, and like he ended up directing Fear Factor at Universal. Fun fact for like all the Universal fans out there, he actually went on to also direct the Ollivanders show.
Okay.
At Wizarding World. But like I remember him being out for like one day, and like I can't remember if this was in front of guests or like if it was just or like with a bunch of team members back of house. Like I know like it was a whole deal we made out of it, but it might have been just for the team members, where like it was him and a blender and just beakers and cups full of stuff.
Okay.
Ooh.
And like pretty much it's like, okay, this is where we're gonna figure out what like we can feed people. And so like it was just like, okay, it's like if we put this here and this here, it's like, how's that? How bad is that? And like a lot of times be like, oh my God, that's awful. Or like, oh, that's actually not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yes.
Ugh.
Michelle, have you ever seen Fear Factor?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris and I saw it once.
Okay.
It was during, let's see, it was right before it closed. Right before it closed for COVID.
All
okay,
right.
so it's probably like early 2020, maybe like late 2019.
Late 2019, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of just saw it because my feet were hurting and I wanted somewhere to sit down. Like it was one of those things that you kind of just pass by between Men in Black and Diagon Alley, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we decided just to give it a go, and we actually really, really loved it. We were like, how come we never stop and see this before? Like Krista was like, Mama, how long has this been here? I'm like, every time we've been here.
I think that there was kind of like a preconceived kind of, I don't want to say hatred, but like I know like there were a lot of people that just kind of disliked the show purely on principle.
Exactly. We just didn't like the show itself. Like it wasn't interesting to us.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, but this show was actually fun.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been awesome talking to Stephen. It's a shame Patrick couldn't hang around a little bit longer, but, he's a busy man. Yeah, Fear Factor's gone. As I've said, sadly, we didn't get to see it. I'm not actually sure whether Chris seen it because he's not here. But, it sounds like you guys, that Fear Factor family, and are still keep in touch, and that's awesome. I love that. I love that those shows are still keeping people in touch with people, because it's kind of the same as doing this podcast. The friends and family that we've made through it, that we still keep in touch with, that I expect to keep in touch with when we stop doing it, is kind of that same thing. But it's great, and it is a shame that it's kind of gone, because I like it. You both said, I think it is a show when we're not going to see anything like ever again. For definite.
Yeah, I do think that it's something that the show might have been more popular if more people gave it a chance. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but there were a lot of people that just kind of
completely agree.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Just didn't give it a chance. And I can tell you that everyone that actually did the show, everyone that we talked to, they had a blast doing it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I cannot stress this enough. Working that attraction was so much fun. I actually, for the last year and a half that I was in Orlando before I eventually moved it to Las Vegas, I had another full-time job at that time, in which I was working 4 10-hour days. I was working in a news station.
Wow.
And the other 3 days of the week, I actually gave my availability to Universal and said, hey, I'm available for you guys, but I only want to work Fear Factor. Because I was basically saying, hey, I'm giving you my off time. So I can have a little bit of, polar requests. It's hey, if you're going to schedule me, that's fine, but let it only be at Fear Factor. And it really was something to the point, I didn't mind going in on my days off because it was fun working there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I absolutely have nothing but fond memories. And it's actually why I've always wanted to kind of talk about this with you, Lee, just because I know there is that kind of negative stink around the show from a lot of Universal fans.
Yeah.
And I've always been one of the show's biggest defenders for no other reason than my experience working there was so positive.
Yeah. Definite. Yeah, I think it's everyone, every time it goes down for Halloween Horror Nights, everyone's it's not going to open again this year. And it does, and it carries on.
And I think that at the beginning we were the very beginning, 2006, 2007, all those times Patrick was talking about, we were always oh no, what if it doesn't open back up? Oh no, to the point where we're kind of getting to the end. And I'm far away from it, but they say it's oh, Fear Factor's reopening back up. And to the point where I'm really? Really it is? All right. Good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that theatre. Now, we've sort of speculated it's I don't think they're going to get rid of it because they need it for Horror Nights, but it will be interesting to see what happens.
Yep.
But right, cool. That's going to do it for another UUOP, and we are going to close the show out like we always do with a Universal Is, and Stephen has kindly accepted my offer to provide this week's. But of course, if you want to get involved, all you got to do is let us know what you think Universal is in 3 words or less, and you can send them via email or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is. But Stephen, it is over to you to tell us what you think Universal is.
I think just because of what I was saying earlier about how my childhood started there and so forth, and really kind of my professional career started there, I'll say Universal is my forever home.
I like it.
Nice.
Cool.
Very good.
See you next week, everyone.
Guess that wraps things up for another unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. You guys did all right. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest, keyword UUO Podcast. Listen and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere podcasts are found. You can find our blog at uuopodcast.com. Send us your spews, which Lou gets your poo recordings, questions, or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, and our awesome sponsors, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company. So, until next time, don't give up your day job. Say cheese. See you later.